Hi everyone, my name is Ryan Anderson. Some of you know me as Pesci. I'm nervous as it's my first time doing something like this, so I thought I'd have a better connection with people doing a video. I'll try not to stutter or get tongue tied. And we all put a posh voice on, so I'll try to sound less Scottish so you can understand. On a serious note, I've done this to open up my struggles in life, what I've been through, which might help someone. So just to start off with, I'm 31, I live in Edinburgh, but I was born in Morocco. And ever since my teenage years, I've been around drinking drugs. I wouldn't say I was addicted to any of them, but it's only been the last year I decided to give them up so I could deal with what was going on in my head. So I'll explain why. Just before I was 18, I found out I was adopted. In adoption terms, I'm called an LDA, Late Discovery Adoptee. Finding this out tore me apart. I was broken, and I've been ashamed of this secret for years, not telling anyone. I was abandoned at the hospital with no information of any of my biological family. This could be because my mum couldn't afford to care for me, or she might have had an affair. Who knows? As in 1990, Morocco was a poor country, but it's better now though. So I don't know who my parents are, if I have any brothers or sisters, who abandoned me and why, and if any of my family are still alive. At times, this can be quite hard to deal with. Now, about my parents. My adopted dad, he's Moroccan, same as me, but as my adopted mum, who's English, it was her idea to adopt. She's my mum, that's all I've ever known her as, and she wanted to give a child a better life. She's been great. She picked me out a line of babies. They were all badly dressed and crying, and back then there was about 25 babies a day being put up for adoption in Morocco. After a lot of difficulties, my parents eventually got the paperwork sorted, and I came to live with them in Scotland. So growing up, it was my mum mainly looking after me. My dad was there, but there's not much of a connection. We didn't get on. And I knew there was something not right about me. I was the same skin colour as my dad, so adoption didn't cross my mind. I was ashamed of my parents because they were different. Not much money, different accent, different religion, looked different, as me and my dad had different skin colour from my mum, so as a family we were dealt some racism and bullying. I have an older brother and sister, but I'm the only one who's adopted, and I was sad that our family are not together. We were all over the place. The five of us have never been in a room together. Then over the years, my mum and dad got divorced as they weren't getting on. My childhood was fine, thanks to my mum. So now I'll fast forward to the 4th of January 2008, a month before my 18th. I remember that day as I was living in England with mum when she told me the truth. She wrote me a letter explaining everything. I remember bursting into tears and running out the house. My mum wasn't told how to adopt, but she did her best with very little help. She didn't tell me because she loved me and didn't want to hurt me, and I understand why, although it did take time. After doing some research, it can be very damaging not telling a child from a young age. So I moved out from England, back up to Scotland on my own. I went on a housing list, I got a flat, and I stayed myself bottling this up. Instead of going to college or uni, which I planned, I had to get a flat, I had to get a job, and that's where I learned to stand on my own 2 feet and pay my way. It was around that age I got involved in drinking drugs, just like most teenagers, except I had this on my mind. I wouldn't tell anyone what had happened, probably because I was scared of being bullied. I would treat my friends as family and keep my family distant. And when I would meet my family, adoption was never talked about. I stayed alone. I'm an overthinker, so this messed up my mind as I had a constant battle. Christmases and birthdays, they were a trigger, as I spend most of them alone, unless I got invited to a friend's house or felt brave to visit family. But I would still feel uncomfortable. So yeah, I became this party animal, always up for a laugh, hyper, and in my younger days, close with my friends. But as the years go by, we get older, people settle down, start to drift, and people change. And I was a people person, and I wanted to be friends with everyone. If we had a drink together, or been on a night out, I class you as a mate. Maybe because I felt I never had any real family, and I pushed my adopted family away. And I found it hard to let go of friendships, and also very upsetting and depressing when friends took my kindness for weakness. And I became numb when people done bad stuff to me, and that happened a lot. But I didn't forget the times when my friends broke my trust. Different friends every time letting you down. So I'd go through phases where I distanced myself from people. I would only speak when spoken to. So I'm sorry if I was ever off with anyone. And I wasn't perfect. So when I made a mistake, I felt terrible for it. Most of my mistakes was when I was drunk, but that's still no excuse. So with drinking drugs, when you're in that environment, you meet a lot of bad people. But on the flip side, there is some good people. And even the bad, I believe, can change. So I was focused on making money, living for the weekend, enjoying myself, trying to live a drama-free life. But if you're involved in drinking drugs, there's always some drama going on. My mind would always wander about my adoption, but I wasn't ready to face it. What made me happy was going on holiday, and I never went until I was 22. My first holiday was in Cancun in Mexico, and that didn't start off well. My first night, I got robbed from a guy dressed as a woman, but that's another story. At 23, I went on holiday to Ibiza. Then 2 years later, I would spend the next 5 summers living there, having the time of my life with more good memories than bad. And I would do my best to make sure people had the best holiday. Everyone thought I had this great life in Ibiza for the summer, then travelling for the winter, but deep down, I wasn't happy. Travelling was my way of coping, but it was only short term. I was so busy looking for the next buzz in life. Adoption was always on my mind, and I learned making money never made you happy. As adoptees, some of us believe we did something wrong. Some of us believe we are worth less and we need to be grateful and need to be perfect. It was like I needed to prove to everyone that I deserved to be the one picked from my mum. And I thought people were happy on me because I was carrying the secret. Most of the time, I was having a conversation with someone. I was wanting to talk about what was going on in my mind, but I never had the guts to open up. The only person I would speak to would be my mum, and she would do her best to help. I have to admit, at times, I also felt guilty, as I thought my mum loved me more than the other kids. Maybe she thought I needed it. I would also feel guilty for all the times I spoke bad to her. I felt I never had the right to speak bad to her because I was adopted. How would my brother and sister feel? But my mum, she would just soak up the abuse. Maybe my anger was adoption related. And I would always test my mum's patience and apologise and feeling guilty after. But over the years, for me, depression was kicking and it got worse. And the drinking drugs, that wouldn't help. I would start off my bed for a day, then it could lead to 4 or 5 days. People were calling, getting worried, not wanting to leave my house. And when I did, I felt anxious. And I always felt as if someone was out to get me. But helping others helped me snap out of it. And I was easy to talk to, so people came to me with their problems. But I wouldn't talk to anyone about mine, just my mum. Over the years, I was on and off medication. In 2019, I tried to get counselling, but I just walked out. I wasn't ready. It was 2020, when lockdown started, I decided I needed to change and deal with my adoption. The drinking drugs, they were affecting my health. I ended up unconscious a few times, damaging my body and my mind. I needed to stop them, and I didn't want them to interfere with me getting better. I was passionate about changing, so I was on a mission. So I completed a year off them, and people's reactions was I should feel great, but really I wasn't. Mentally I was a mess, because I have still kept this a secret. After my sober year, I didn't drink straight away. I waited a few months until there was a special occasion, but I'm glad I've not returned to my old ways. I had depressive spells off the drinking drugs, and still do, due to dealing with my problems, but I imagine I would have been in a much worse place if I was on them. And I don't think drinking drugs was my problem, it was my adoption. I'm glad to say I'm better now, but I'm not 100%. My lifestyle change to me was a boring life, and if I'm honest, I was always looking for stuff to do. I am still immature a bit, and I don't act my age, and some people would have thought I was an idiot, and I don't blame them. When everyone was out partying, I'd be lying in my bed, bored. Sometimes I'd go to a party sober, as I had the fear of missing out, but it wouldn't be the same not drinking. People would reach out and send nice messages and looking for advice, and I tried my best to help. From taking a step back, I seen the effect drinking drugs had on people, but I was blinded before as I was in that environment. And I won't lie and say I'll never take drinking drugs again, as I already have. Plus, I've had the time of my life on them, but it's a worry when it gets control of people. Now on to my recovery. At the start of COVID, I was doing many things, like completed a suicide awareness course, reading self-help books, reading and listening to motivational stuff, setting goals, doing volunteer work, stopped drinking drugs, yoga, Reiki, meditation, exercise, writing a life story, tried CBD oil, sticking to my medication, and counselling and support groups. Everyone's different, but there's some ideas for people struggling. You should write them down, can pick what suits you best. You might already do some. Something that's not on that list is listening and playing music. That might help. Most of it helped me, but sometimes I was just faking it to make it, but at least I was trying. In September 2020, I thought I was strong enough to come off my antidepressants and I hit an all-time low. All the trauma and negativity hit me in a wonder, and I was that sad I was contemplating suicide. I would always have thoughts of suicide and self-harm, and when not as bad, thoughts of death, thoughts like, what would it be like to die today? But this time it was worse. I would think what life would be like if I wasn't adopted. Would I still be alive or running the streets in Morocco? What happens if I was told about my adoption when I was a kid? Or what happens if I was never told? I pushed everyone away, and I wrote a note, crying in bed, taking pill after pill every half an hour, having a battle with my mind. I think I took about 4 or 5, which isn't much, and I regretted it after. I will always remember how I felt in that moment, and I never want anyone to feel like that. Now this is why I'm drawn to people who have problems and I want to help. Anyone who's felt like this, remember, you are not alone. With mental health, sometimes you want to die, or it feels like you want to die. But the moment it's close to happening, you want to survive. So you don't really want to die, you just want to kill the sadness that's inside you. To make mental health better, people need to talk. And I hope by being an open book helps me, but I could be wrong. But wouldn't it be great if we all just talked and opened up about our problems, no secrets? Whether it's the loss of a loved one, poor childhood, or a failed relationship, the list goes on. We've all experienced trauma. What we need to understand is it can affect each person differently. Be supportive to those close to you. Send that message of support, even if you don't know what to say. Just a few words, trust me, it's better to send than not. My life's not great, I don't have anything figured out, but I'm trying. That's all we can do. And I don't want to be ashamed anymore, and I want to forgive more, and I want to end suffering, as too many people have died because of mental health. Most that I know are drugs related. So I opened up on a website called Reddit, but I wasn't ready to add myself to any Facebook adoptee groups. In case anyone I know noticed, I joined and put 2 and 2 together. I was paranoid, which looking back I was being silly. Over the months I grew confidence, and now I'm in about 10 Facebook groups, and I shared my story on the groups with a great response and connected with many people as adopted people get it, and I've now told most of my friends. Next was to post this video for everyone to see. If I can open up, then anyone can open up. For me, there was something missing, so I needed to do this. I couldn't move forward in life. I felt like I was being held back, and I want to be the best version of me. So I care what people think. Some people might think this isn't a big deal. Some won't care, but that's okay. I have anxiety about this, and I'm scared of what people will think, as I'm ashamed. So it'd be good to know people have got my back. The key messages I'm trying to get across here are, don't bottle things up. I know what it feels like. It took me 12 years to face my problems. In time, your mind and feelings might change one day, and you might want to get in touch with that friend or family that's missing from your life. That's what happened to me. No secrets. I repeat, it's not healthy telling lies or keeping secrets. Have a break from drinking drugs every now and then. However, don't turn to them when something serious is going on in the back of your mind. Ask yourself if you're in a good mind frame before you take them, so you don't get a negative effect. I believe the way the world is too much to ask people to completely stop drinking drugs, so just do your best so it doesn't become a problem. Other people's lives are not what they seem. I was sick of people saying I had this amazing life. Trust me, everyone has their problems, but let's face them and life can be good. Family is what you make it. I probably won't find any of my biological family, but I have a great adopted family and great friends. Look after those people who are close to you. Most of us don't have the perfect family, but let's enjoy what we have. If you want to improve life, try some of the stuff I've done before COVID. Give yourself a fighting chance. You don't need to share, comment or like. That stuff doesn't matter. It's nice, but if we're all kind, we can make this world a better place. We don't know people's backstories, but I'm glad you've heard mine. I feel by doing as much good in the world as I can, it will cancel out any bad that I've done. They say you can't help everyone. I just hope I've helped someone feel a little less lost than my job's done. The type of person I am, I don't want to see anyone suffer. But I don't have all the answers, and sometimes when I'm relied upon too much, I don't have the strength to help. So it's like a lose-lose situation, but I'll keep trying. If any of my words have hit a nerve, remember, it's because I want you to face your problems. However, I know it's easier said than done when you're at your lowest. I was inspired to do this from watching podcasts of how people overcame their problems in life. I do hope my story can break the barrier for some people to talk more. And I hope my story explains when my behaviour was off and you understand why. I plan to visit Morocco when COVID allows, as I've not been there since a kid. I want to see if I can find any of my family, as I wonder if there's anyone out there who looks like me. For every day I'm not there, it gives me more time to prepare, but every day I'm not there, it's a day lost to finding my family. And I know it'll be very unlikely to find my family, and if no luck, I'll try not to get too upset, as it was not meant to be. I plan to get this video done before COVID, but I've struggled to find anyone who's kept a secret like this for so long, so it'd be good to know there's people out there similar to me. Thanks for listening everyone. There's a link to my full adoption story if anyone's interested. Done. Adios amigo.